Kings 8. We're going to read verse 1 through 6. Then Elijah spoke to the woman whose son had restored to life, saying, Arise and go, you and your household, and stay wherever you can, for the Lord has called for a famine, and furthermore it will come upon the land for 7 years. So the woman arose and did according to what the saying of the man of God, and she went with her household and dwelt in the land of the Philistines 7 years. It came to pass at the end of the 7 years that the woman returned from the land of the Philistines, and she went to make an appeal to the king for her house and for her land. Then the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Tell me, please, all the great things Elisha has done. Now it happened, as he was telling the king, now he had restored the dead to life, and there was a woman whose son he had restored to life, appealing to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elijah restored to life. And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed a certain officer for her, saying, Restore all that was hers and all that proceeded off the field from the day that she left the land until now. So if you remember, we were reading back in chapter 4, that this woman, what did she do? She made a place for Elijah to stay, didn't she? She was wealthy. She told her husband we needed a place for him to stay when he came in. They made a room for him, and they didn't have any kids. So Elijah prophesied that she would have a boy. And she had the son, and then he passed away. And then Elijah brought him back to life. So this is that same woman. But he also told her that she's going to have to leave because there's going to be a famine for 7 years. Now, we don't know what this famine was. It could be almost anything. It could be they were under siege and somebody was not letting anybody come into the city. We don't know what caused it. But for some reason, she did that. And she listened to what he said, didn't she? Every time he told her what to do, she did exactly what he told her, didn't he? She knew what God's will was, and she knew he was speaking through Elijah. But then the king, he was talking with Gehazi, and remember, he's the one that they struck with leprosy. They struck him down with leprosy because he didn't believe that the drought was going to end, that they were going to have a famine was going to be over. So he stuck him. So now they're trying to figure out, when you read this passage, when was this actually wrote? Was this before he had the leprosy? Because not everything in the Bible is written chronicled orders. Sometimes it's story after story that fits in with each other. Or does he have the leprosy and the king's trying to get information about Elijah? There's quite a few things that could be going on here. But we're not exactly sure. We know he's there. And the king was asking him about how Elijah restored this kid, didn't he? But the lady, it just happened, she showed up at the same time the king was talking to him. Exact same time. Isn't that God's timing? God put her there just at the time it should be. And she told the king the same thing he did. So the stories were right down to the T. They were right together, weren't they? But you remember, this lady was, her husband was wealthy. So he must have passed away at this time because they don't mention him. They said it's just her and her son came back. And when she appealed for her land, what did they do? Since she was gone 7 years, what would usually happen is squatters would come in and take their land and use it. So somebody came in, took their land, was using it, and she went and petitioned the king for her land back. And this king restored everything. He gave her all her land back, plus also, he said, all the proceeds of the field from the day that she left to the land until now. So she got everything that they were selling off her too. She got back paid fully for everything. This lady, God was really taking care of her, wasn't he? Because she was obedient, because she was following what he wanted, he took care of her. So now in verse 7, then Elijah went to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, was sick. And it was told him, saying, the man of God has come here. And the king said to Hazael, take a present in your hand, and go meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, shall I recover from this disease? So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, and every good thing of Damascus, 40 camel loads. And he came and stood before him and said, your son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, has sent me to you, saying, shall I recover from this disease? And Elijah said to him, go say to him, you shall certainly recover. Our Lord has showed me that he will really die. Then he said this continuous in a stare until he was ashamed. And the man of God wept. And Hazael said, why is the Lord weeping? He answered, because I know the evil that you will do to the children of Israel. Their strong tower, you will kill them with a sword, and you will dash their children and rip open their women with children. So here he is. The king he sent Hazael to inquire Elijah, didn't he? And he goes there and he tells him the king's going to die. He's going to survive this disease, but he's going to die. So, but he also says he sees evil in his eyes. And as we go down through here, you're going to see why he said that. In verse 13, he says, so Hazael said, but what is your servant at all, that he should do this gross thing? And Elijah answered, the Lord has shown me that you will become king over Syria. Then he departed from Elijah, and came to his master, who said to him, what did Elijah say to you? And he answered, he told me that you would surely recover. But it happened on the next day that he took a thick cloth, dipped it in water, and spread it over his face so that he died. And Hazael reigned in his place. So he comes back. He sees the king. What does he do? The king asks him, what did he tell you? Oh, you're surely recovered. He didn't tell him the second part, did he? No. Because guess what? He's the one that killed him. He took a cloth, put it over his face, and killed him. So he was the one, and he's a bad king. So in verse 16, now in the 5th year of Jeroboam, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat, having been king of Jordan, Jeroboam, the son of Jehoshaphat, began to reign as king of Judah. He was 32 years old when he became king and reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, just as the house of Ahab had done. For the daughters of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for the sake of his servant David, and he promised him to give a lamp to him and his sons forever. So now Joram takes over, and he's just as bad as Ahab. But if you find out the queen he took, she was a daughter of Jezebel. So what is he getting back into? The Jezebel spirit, isn't he?
Yeah.
So the whole kingdom starts to follow him. In verse 19, yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for the sake of his servant David, and he promised him to give a lamp to him and his sons forever. In his day, Edmund revoked it against Judah, the authority and made him king over themselves. So Joram went to Zara, and all the chariots with him. Then he rose by night and attacked Edmund. Of the chariots and the troops fled to their tents. Thus Edmund had been revolted against Judah, authority to this day, and Libnah revolted at that time. Now the rest of the acts of Joram and all that he did, are they not written in the books of Chronicle of the kings of Judah? So Joram rested with his father and was buried with his father in the city of David. Then Ahazar, his son, reigned in his place. So he reigned for 8 years. He was a bad king, and now he's gone. In verse 25, it says, in the 20th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Ahaz, the son of Jeroboam, king of Judah, began to reign. Ahab was there 22 years old. But he was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother named Azra, granddaughter of Omar, the king of Israel, and he walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab. For his son-in-law of the house of Ahab. Now he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to war against Hazael, king of Syria and Roman. Gideon and Syria wounded Joram. The king of Joram went back to Jezreel to recover from the wounds which the Syrians had inflicted on him at Rahab, when he fought against Hazael, the king of Syria. And Ahaz, the son of Joram, the king of Judah, went down to besiege Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. So these kings, every one of them continued to go in the same path, don't they? They're following the bad kings. And they're wondering, doesn't God always come back and punish them for this? He keeps coming. He keeps telling them, you can't do this. Has he gave up on them? No. But he does punish them. He keeps coming back and punishing them and punishing them and punishing them. So we can learn from this, you know. If we follow God, God will provide. But you look at the lady, this Shemanite lady. Didn't he provide for her? He took care of her. She followed what his word was, didn't she? But these kings, they're not following what he's telling them. And what's happening to them? Every one of them are following. And we got to be careful in our life so we don't fall in the same kind of traps. Let's go to prayer.